Presenting the CW Crew.
Hey everybody, welcome to Minfluencers. I'm John Foss, Alexa Score, and the one and only DJ Bonix is back there scratching my back. Welcome to an amazing show. Today we have a local celebrity, a film star.
He's big time.
He used to be my roommate.
Really?
Can you believe that? Yeah.
Wow. So does it make you feel like, how are you feeling since his career took off and you're just kind of here stuck with us?
I feel good about being able to see him today because usually when I see him in society, out in society now, he acts like he doesn't know me. So now I get to see him, and, so that's cool.
Got it.
So it'll be a great change.
Paid the big bucks, all right.
Should we bring him out?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, local celebrity, film, producer, director, actor, everything you can think of, the one and only Nate Larson. Hey. Welcome to the show.
Great to meet you.
Sorry
Wow,
about that.
What happened there?
Wow.
What's that all about?
It's
nervous.
I'm a little nervous. This
Yeah,
is scary for me. So sometimes when I get nervous,
Whatever makes you
still nervous.
Make yourself at home. Make yourself at home, please.
So Nate Larson, welcome to the show. Do you remember living with me?
I do remember living with you. We lived together in college for 1 year. I was kind of a no-name on campus, and you were a football star. And so I think it really helped my star to rise a bit living with you. So
Let me cut you off right there and say that's a bunch of BS because here's what actually happened. I went to college. I went to Bethel University. When I showed up, this guy wasn't in college because he was touring the country as a music star. DJ Bonix, you guys might want to do a little collab. You guys can talk afterwards. But this guy was in the band Clear, and there was an alternative station at the time, 104.1, I believe it was. Do you remember 104.1 alternative? Anyway, I heard this band, Clear, Nate Larson, on that station, and who could have predicted that later we'd be rooming together, and now he's on Minfluencers. Did you ever think you would make it onto Minfluencers?
I actually didn't. I didn't know it existed till this morning when I walked in here. So, and actually, I don't think I'm an influencer because I have under 2,000 followers. So I think you need 2,000 to be a micro influencer, right?
Well, you've influenced John.
Okay. Yeah.
So there you go.
That.
And your Instagram account literally says social media influencer. So,
how many followers do you have?
20,000.
What?
Not
Talk to
Bonix
this guy
says
back here.
eight, yeah.
Bonnie, how many you got?
Instagram, like 70,000 maybe.
Can I ask a question?
Go for it.
So when you have 20 or 70, can you get stuff from that? Like, do companies give you stuff to review?
Oh, yeah.
Or?
All the time.
Get girls.
And that.
Wow. Okay, great. Well, that's my new goal. Get more followers.
What would you say was your favorite part about rooming with me? If you had to narrow it down.
Well, you had a vibe on campus before I knew you that you were.
Come on, guys, quiet down.
So what you guys have to understand is that John was one of the best football players in Division III at the time. And so he was this guy who had like a short cropped haircut, super like tough toned body, not that I was looking, but he just had this vibe of like being a cool guy. And I'm like, who is this cool guy? But then living with you, I realized, oh, you're like really into Vanilla Ice. And you're kind of weird in the best possible way. So I loved it. It was great.
And that hasn't changed the weirdness factor. But living with this guy was like living with a stand-up comedian every night. So it was like having free entertainment.
Yeah.
So very cool. And actually, you have been on CW Twin Cities before.
I have.
On the Melon Drop. Let's check this out.
And just in time, look who is about to arrive. Our Melon Runner, Nels, is here. He's here. He made it. All right. Here it is.
That was it.
Great clip.
On the show, you and Ragnar kind of had a
Yep.
thing. You guys were working in tandem. And Alexa worked with the Vikings, so she may have some Ragnar stories as well. What was it like working with Ragnar?
He was a surprisingly normal guy. I think we tend to see each other as caricatures of who we are based on what we present to the world through social media or through television. But he's like this normal guy from a small, like, where's he from? Like northern Minnesota somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like he lives in the country. He's just like a normal good dude. So.
Cheers to that. Good.
Cheers.
Wait, was that you fist pumping?
Yeah, it was the Arsenio actually.
Wow. Oh, right.
You know,
and
dog pound?
I also noticed you actually had a mustache in the video.
Did I really?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure before we started filming, you told me that this was your inaugural
It's not adding
mustache.
up, is it?
No.
Well, so I've only had like a thick mustache a couple times in my life. So I guess anytime I do a CW thing,
Yeah.
it's mustache time.
It's like if you build the stash, we will come get you and force you to be on the show.
Well, that's great. Good to know. Good for my future career moves. Just grow the stash and.
One side note I want to throw out too is
Yep.
earlier you mentioned that like you were trying to downplay it like you were this nobody on campus. This guy, I don't know if anybody's ever done this before. Homecoming king in high school and college.
Wow.
Thanks.
How'd you pull that off?
Super impressive.
To me, one of the most popular, one of the most important things in my life is to be popular, to be liked by everyone. People I don't know, people whose opinions don't matter about me. Like, I want clout. I want people to be like, oh, who's that guy? He looks really cool. I think he's popular. So I just pursued popularity with reckless abandon in high school, same blueprint in college. And look where I am now, sitting here with you fine people, enjoying some free coffee, having some fun, learning about social media.
Yeah.
Man, I love you guys. Sorry. Okay.
So how did you go from Mr. Popular to continuing to be Mr. Popular? Now you're kind of like, hey, what genre of like career is that a thing? Is out there that I can continue to be the most popular from high school, college, and just in general society? You chose the film route. How did you get into film?
That is a great and succinct question.
That
I
was a
completely understand.
very challenging question.
Let me try that again. Take two. How did you get into film?
Oh, well, I was doing commercial real estate 10 years ago and got out of that for some personal reasons and moved to LA. And I moved to LA to act, and I did acting for a year, and I loved it. And while I was there, I was on set a lot and around cameras. And when I was a kid, I loved making movies and taking pictures. And so it's something that I started doing on the side to kind of pay for my life in LA. And one thing led to another, and I started shooting some weddings, and I did weddings for about 2 or 3 years, and then that led to commercial work, which led to documentary work. So I do mostly commercial and documentary work now, and it's the absolute best.
Nice. So one of your films, Bad Boys of Bowling, is that the right title? It's ESPN 30 for 30. How did that happen?
Bring me on your show, and you mispronounce and mistitle the very first thing you bring up, but it's called The Bad Boy of Bowling.
Okay. And tell us how that happened. What it's about.
There's a producer in LA named Brian Storkel. Brian and Amy Storkel are husband and wife producing team, and they do a lot of sports documentary stuff. And this was a ESPN 30 for 30 short. So it was about this guy who was a bowler and did the crotch chop, if you remember this move.
I don't really remember it. Maybe he could show us. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, that one. Yeah. Got it.
No one.
Whoops-a-daisy. So it was just this fun story, a short story about this guy who had a moment, because he famously had this moment where he's bowling and he gets a strike, wins the tournament, and he turns to the camera and says, "Who do you think you are? I am."
Who do you think you are? I am.
Which makes total sense.
Which makes no sense. And it was on it made the rounds. It was like ESPN Not Top 10, and it was just this moment. And some of the ESPN, the 30 for 30 shorts were about just these little snippets of things that happened. So we told the story on why he was excited about that moment, and even though he misspoke in the moment. So.
Was he a cool guy in person?
Yeah, I mean, he was, by his own admission, he's had a lot of tough stuff in his life. Some stuff that's beyond his control, some stuff that was in his control, but I liked him. He was kind of a salt of the earth. He's the kind of guy you want to film a documentary about because he was interesting and he was a great subject to make a doc about.
Did he stay? I mean, it seems like he has this persona, at the bowling alley.
Yeah.
Is he that character outside of the bowling alley as well?
So many people put on this thing, and I don't think they're being disingenuous, but if you're on TV, if you're on screen, you ramp it up to make it a little more.
Yep.
interesting to watch. So his persona when he's winning and bowling is like way over the top, but in real life he's a lot more chill. But I mean, I think that's so many people that are on camera. But good guy, but he wasn't quite the same. He never crotch chopped for me.
I was just gonna say, like, after an interview, there were no crotch chops.
No, well, he tried to crotch chop me, which was, he came up behind, and I'm kidding, of course.
They got it.
So no, he didn't try to crotch chop me, but I would have appreciated had he tried.
So as you see, we have another clip queued up here for you.
Oh, great.
So after that, right now, viewers, you can actually check out The Legend of Cocaine Island on Netflix, and we're gonna watch a trailer, and then you can tell us a little bit about it.
A northern fairy tale starts off once upon a time. A southern fairy tale starts off, y'all ain't gonna believe this shit. Cocaine, over 70 pounds. Just waiting for someone to dig it up.
I am a dreamer, but I'm not a greedy person. I wanted to take care of my family. We've got a plane, we've got a pilot, and we've got a plan. Let's go get it. I was talking that smack, that drug talk. Say hello to my little friend.
What the fuck are you doing right now?
I didn't know if he would ever be coming home.
It's a nightmare.
Fucking crazy.
I didn't know what was gonna happen.
I opened it up and
Nice.
There it is. So tell us about what we just saw.
Well, this is a documentary called The Legend of Cocaine Island, and it was something that Brian and Amy actually, the husband and wife producing team, they put together this story with a director named Theo Love, and they just found this story of a kind of a crazy, funny story about a guy in Florida who heard about some cocaine that was buried in Puerto Rico, and so he got this associate of his to go help him try to bring it back, and it was a great story because it was it's funny and it was fun, and it's something that oftentimes you think a documentary and you think, oh, this is a really sad story about the blue hats, like people in Syria or oppressed people groups, and there's definitely a place for that kind of doc, but we wanted to tell a story that was just fun, because there's not a lot of documentary work, or there is more now, but documentary's always been pretty serious, and we wanted to make something fun. So we just raised, I was an executive producer. I didn't have a big creative role in this, so I was one of the early investors, and just made this thing on our own, and it premiered at Tribeca, which is super fun, and then from there, a couple companies were bidding on it, which is a fun kind of an entourage-style moment, but all these offers were rolling in, and we kind of had this, what's going on? But we ended up selling it to Netflix. So
Very
Netflix. Thanks, Steve. Netflix, sometimes they make their own stuff, or they'll buy it from other people and then brand it as Netflix original. So Netflix just bought this project that we had mostly finished by the time they bought it.
And there was also, this name doesn't really roll off the tongue because I haven't heard it very often. Bill Ferrell. Maybe Bill Ferrell purchased it to possibly make it into a film. Is that the right name?
Oh, that's Will Ferrell.
Oh, yeah. I knew. Okay.
That's a popular mistake.
Yeah.
Very common. No, but Will, if you know me, you know I love popularity, and I love name dropping. So, good friend of mine, Will Ferrell. I don't know if he's in some comedies. No, Will Ferrell's production company bought it. They paid for an option, so they're in the midst of this length of time where they can make a narrative version of the film. And last I heard the update, they have a script and they like it, and they're doing rewrites, and so. But like anything, and one of the reasons I live in Minnesota, and one of the reasons I love staying here as opposed to going to a coast or like trying to play the game, is you can just be a normal person here, and if this stuff comes in, great. So like anything, like it's fun to say, hey, Will Ferrell's company has, they might make this into a narrative.
And you say it a lot.
And I do. So Will Ferrell, but like if that ever gets made into a movie, great, and I'll invite you guys and it'll be super fun. But if it doesn't, there's so much of this in the industry. There's so much like, oh, I'm doing this thing, and this thing is coming, and I'm like, I'm just a normal guy who lives in Minnesota, and if this stuff happens, then I'll tell people about it, and it's fun. But I'm not interested in playing the game of trying to impress people with things that might happen, because so many people talk a great game, but I want to live it.
There you go. Less pressure, right?
Yeah, totally.
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like in Hollywood, you have to be doing something. You have to be working on a cool project. But here, I mean, that's not the norm, and people don't expect that from you. So, yeah, it's kind of nice.
And it's our Germanic and our Scandinavian roots, and it's just like, I think there's just a lot more of like, you play stuff close to the vest and you downplay everything.
Right.
And I've spent enough time in modest is hottest, as I've always said. But you spend time on the coast and like everyone's trying to like impress you with what they're doing or what they've done, and that's great. But I want to be a normal guy who, if cool stuff happens, great. But I'd like to be approachable and super popular.
And you,
oh boy, I'm really sorry. Wasn't expecting this much fart humor, but I'll take it.
I know.
Keep it coming, dude.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. That one got me.
So now, is this your first time doing an interview?
with fart sound effects? Yes.
Okay.
That is the first for that, yeah. But you also have, wow, it's hard transition from the fart. You have another project in the works?
Yeah, I got a couple things coming up. There are 3 documentary projects that are in various stages. They're really fun stories. The first one is, we're calling it Pez Outlaw right now, but it's about a guy in the 90s who smuggled in Pez dispensers from Europe, and he and his son would go over to Europe and bring duffel bags and just buy these Pez dispensers from a factory for a couple cents each, and then come back and sell them for sometimes up to $800,000 each. And so he made $4.5 million over 10 years. And so we're telling kind of that rags to riches to rags story for him. And there's another one on a casino, Harvey Hotel and casino bombing that took place in 1980. These guys, they stole 1,000 pounds of dynamite from a construction yard, and they made it look like they were IBM copy repairmen, and they pushed this thing in, but it was a booby-trapped bomb. And they said, give us $3 million or this thing will blow up. So we're telling that story. And then there's another one. I can't go into many details, kind of private. I can tell you off air. But it's a Minnesota story. The director's from LA, and it's going to be a fun project, but we're in pre-production on that one right now.
Does it have anything to do with like influencers, like behind the scenes or something cool like that?
It doesn't, but I can talk to the producer. So.
Thank you.
How do you find the stories for your documentaries?
Yeah. I think one of our favorite ways has been, there's a website called longform.org, and it just kind of aggregates long, like GQ or Esquire, magazines will do these long articles.
Yeah.
And these articles sometimes they're just so well written, and you just go through there and read all these stories. And if you find a story that you really like, you can just go to that person, and you usually have to pay the writer of the magazine to use that story.
Sure.
And then you have to pay fees to the people in the story. But that's probably the biggest way that we have found some of these stories, because they're just, it's a clearinghouse of all these cool stories that we pull from there. And then there's word of mouth too.
Yeah,
you just talk to people like, hey, do you know anything fun? And every once in a while someone says, yeah, my uncle did this really weird thing. And you push into that and find that maybe there is a story there. But
Final question, what would you say to people out there, viewers out there, to somebody that may be thinking about getting into film, or just wants to be successful like you in life, or to be an influencer, or very successful as you describe yourself as a social media influencer? What advice would you give to anybody out there that's watching that wants to get to where you're at?
Well, I would say to them, what's most important is that people like you, that you never say anything that offends people. Don't really be yourself. Say things you think most people will like to hear. So I would start with that.
Okay.
Your numbers are the most important thing in the world. How many followers do you have? Look at me. How many followers do you think I have on social media?
50, 70.
Higher.
1,900.
A little over 1,900. So yeah, I do okay. But I always want that number to be higher, because that's the important thing. Influencer numbers.
Yeah, we respect that.
Yeah, for sure.
Seriously though, I will say this is a golden era for making stuff, because the technology is so cheap. You can go to Best Buy and buy a camera that you could shoot a project on that Netflix would buy. Like cameras and gear, it's gotten so good. So the barriers to entry are gone. It used to be you'd have to go to film school, you'd have to pay for a 35mm film stock and all this stuff, and it cost however many dollars per minute just to shoot. And now it's basically free once you buy the camera. So it's super cheap to get into, and the only thing holding you back is finding stories and finding good ways to tell them. So I would say if you're interested in it, go for it. Like there's plenty of room in the pool.
Very cool.
But I hope that people get into the game, aren't better than me, and I hope they don't ever become more popular than me. Because what's important to me is how high I am on the popularity scale. I think you mentioned before, but I was the homecoming king in high school and in college. So I wish they had more homecoming king contests because I'd really like to go for a three-peat. But and I'm not joking.
We might have something for you.
Well, you've set the bar high. It seems like an unattainable goal to beat you, so I think you're in good shape.
We wanted to give you this, add to the collection of awards. Minnesota Filmmaker of the Year.
Wow.
An influencer.
Speech.
Yeah, I deserve this. I've always been a huge fan of the WWWWB. So this is just kind of a full circle moment.
I love it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, also, thank you, Nate Larson, very much for being with us. As we go to commercial, there's one more thing that I wanted to, one more treat. We have DJ Bonix back here. Wiz Khalifa's DJ. Wiz is looking for some dancers. We're going to crank the music as we go to commercial, and we're going to give you an audition at the same time. Okay. We'll see how you do, and we'll let you know, and we'll call you. So crank that music.
Hey. Whoa.
The CW crew on the CW Twin Cities, DJ Bonix, Alexa Score, and John Foss. Like, follow, subscribe to, and love the CW crew.